Welcome back to the channel. It's just me today. Todd's in St. Louis. Actually, he might be in New Orleans. He's kind of everywhere. Today we're going to do two things. We're going to be replacing the front and lower control arms, as well as replacing the factory wheel studs with ARP versions that are longer. We currently have, I think there's 120,000 miles on this car, so the bushings in the control arms more than likely need to be replaced, and the GT500 control arms came with obviously better bushings and hopefully stronger control arms. We haven't really seen any problems with our current control arms, but anytime we do anything, we try to upgrade it. So that's what we're doing today. And we are running wheel adapters in the front to push the wheels out so we can lean them over for more camber. And I have never liked that solution. So what we're doing is getting longer studs, and then we can convert those adapters to just spacers so that we slide those over the wheel studs and bolt everything to the wheel studs rather than wheel studs to adapter, and then at the adapter having their own wheel studs, which who knows what those are and what quality they are. Pretty straightforward process for both of them. Likely you'll just see some time lapsing on this. I'll probably stop it to walk you through what we do here, but thanks for watching. It's always something. I bought these lug nuts on Amazon thinking I made a good deal. I was wrong. It's clear that they are like probably just painted lug nuts, and they even like fully painted the insides, the threads. So I'm guessing they just have them dipped in some way. So it won't thread on to the new studs until I take a tap and a little WD-40 and I run it through the threads and clean them out, and you can even see that the threads are completely clean now and it threads just fine. Frustrating. So that's what I'm doing now, going through and cleaning all of these lug nuts so that I can put them on the new studs that I bought. Well, you get the gist. I'm gonna shut the camera off now. First step I'm going to do is get the wheel studs, the lug nuts, sorry, off of this hub to pull the spacer off. And then I'm going to knock these studs out. Pretty easy process, actually. I was worried it was going to be more difficult, but just a mini sledge pulled them right out, or pushed them right out. So yeah. I'm going to hold on to these open-ended lug nuts because I'm going to use them to drive the new studs on, pull them on. Next, I'm going to get this caliper off. Just going to temporarily hold that caliper while I pull this rotor off. Then I'm going to put caliper back in place, just so it's not dangling. Okay. Now comes the fun part. You have to slot the new studs in through an access in the hub. There's a small cutout, and the studs are actually, the head of them is flat-sided so that it can pass by the ABS ring on the hub. Okay, now I have a fat stack of washers because this is a really long stud. So I'm putting all of these on. And then on the front washer and the back washer, putting a little PB blaster, just so these washers can freely spin, hopefully, while I'm driving this, so that it doesn't like bind up and get real hot. And Now I'm just gonna go until I can see that the stud, the head of the stud is flush against the back of the flange back there. Just gonna reposition that a little bit. Lost my lug nut, but I'll just use another one. I'm gonna ditch this washer. I've used it on now 7 studs and it's starting to get chewed up. There you go. 5 new studs. Much like me trying to play football in 8th grade, these are too short. I didn't know this was gonna happen, obviously, but it did. So the solution now is to take this back off, knock these brand new studs back out of the hub, and put the factory studs back in, which are cut down, so that I can remount the spacer and get the lug nuts on there that sit flush to the spacer. And then these will now get pressed into the spacer. My initial complaint was I didn't trust the studs in the spacer. Maybe that was unwarranted, I don't know. But now I've got APR studs going to be pressed into the spacer, and I definitely trust these studs. So that's our solution. We'll probably revisit this at some time because I'm also not a fan of this, but it is better than Amazon studs. So yeah, that's the game plan. Thanks for coming along for the ride. All right, this is what it looks like now that I've got it all back together. You can see cut down factory studs, spacers, APR studs, and then impossibly long lug nuts, open-ended lug nuts. So there's all the thread engagement on these. Yeah. Here's a quick comparison shot of the 2 control arms. The one on the left is the one that came out of the car. Obviously it's dirty. The one on the right is from the GT500. I don't know if the bushings are stiffer. I hope that they are. I can stick a screwdriver in them and see if they have as much compliance as the original. I assume that the original bushings are worn out. You can also see the difference in construction where on the one on the left is a stamped steel arm. The one on the right is it's a formed I-beam arm that has welded on bracket right here. Sorry, lost the focus. To grab that other bushing mount. The ball joint on the left is just pushed into the stamped steel portion, whereas on the right here it goes into a thicker steel plate that is welded all the way around to the formed arm. I'm going to transfer over that heat shield that's just above, right here, just above the big bearing, or bushing, sorry. I noticed it's real close to the headers, and since there's mounting points for it on the new one, there's no point not to do it. It's not going to save us any weight to have it on there, so yeah. Now we're going to throw the new one in the car. Okay, I'm going to bring you in here and show you what we're about to do. We have a couple things. We have to loosen this bolt here and put basically like a pry bar, shove it in that slot there to try and open that gap up so that shaft will fall through once you remove the bolt. That gets the ball joint out of the knuckle. And then you have a bolt there where the nut is retained, so you loosen the other side and that will pull one side of the arm out. And then there's 2 bolts on this bushing mount, one on each side. You can only see one of them right now. Those will come out as well. And then you pry the whole thing out and slot the new one in. Okay, I'm gonna get you in here. See this new arm? It's bolted. One thing I forgot to mention, the tie rod has to come out of the steering knuckle. And yeah, it's not that big a deal. You just loosen this nut and then leave it partially threaded on. And then you can smack this with like a mini sledge real hard and it should pop down. Or if you put the nut at the top, I mean this, you can see this section is smaller than the threaded section. I don't know if that's focusing. So even if you hit that a little bit and mushroom the top of that, it still shouldn't interfere with the threads, but I didn't have to do that. I just hit the side here and knocked that off. So yeah, both control arms done.
All right, so that was a doozy of a project. Took quite a bit of time, but you can see that I installed some much longer studs here with some open-ended lugs.
Get out.
What?
Go on.
No.
Get out. All right, so Todd's back. Car's done. You can see that. Not a big deal on the project there. Had a bit of a confusing time getting the lugs, the wheel studs right length. So we made some adjustments there, but I'm happy with this. Todd's happy with it now that he's back in town. So.
All right, so the time is here. Test and tune is tomorrow. And amazingly, thanks to Dan when I was on vacation, we got that entire list done. So if you've been tuning in, that was a lot, and there were multiple times this season, this off season, that I didn't think we were going to be able to get it done.
Same.
I don't know, Dan, you can probably touch on some of the more complicated things we did, but.
Yeah, we started with the diff install, and that took us a good amount of time. You know, we had to learn along the way. That's not something we had done before, so.
It's probably the longest build we've done so far.
I could think of, yeah.
Yeah.
So that took us a long time. Along with that, we did new rear brakes. Well, this is the front. We did new rear brakes, upgraded the GT500 sized rotors in the rear, got new calipers to get rid of the old sticking calipers that we had. That was great. Then we moved on to the roll cage, which was a whole thing in itself. We had a lot of challenges to overcome on that, but we did great. It looks great. We're excited to have that in there. Got to get used to getting in and out of the car.
Yeah.
It's a whole.
You should have seen us a couple minutes ago trying to figure out our strategy for this
I'm
year.
still sore. I think this hurts here. I got other areas that are not feeling so great. So so after the roll cage, I mean, as far as real technical things, that kind of like topped it off. We did, the battery relocation, that was a big one.
Huge.
And getting rid of the ignition wiring and removing the key from the system, that was challenging as well.
Yeah.
Got it done. That was a lot of late nights.
And I'm sure if you saw that video, that was really a solo project for Dan. I was out of town for a lot of that, so I know he was nervous about that project. I was nervous about that project, especially electricals. So
yeah,
he really tackled it. I mean, you've seen the video. I mean, it looks fucking awesome. And
if you haven't seen the video,
yeah, go watch it.
Watch it.
Yeah, we'll link it at the end.
And then come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, Todd helped us do wrapping up all the stuff at the end. He came back a couple times and helped along the way as well. So it was definitely a group effort. I did have a lot of late nights here, but none of this would be possible without Todd. So there's credit due there.
Yeah. So yeah, like Dan said, there was just a couple things we wrapped up in the season. So we replaced the driver window finally from the theft, and along with that, it needed a tint. So we went ahead and did a new tint all around the car. And we also went ahead and did the front windshield with an eyebrow. We did decals, swapped
Probably
up the decals.
can't see them behind me.
Yeah, we'll do a clip of that. But new decals for the season, which look good. And then I think really just kind of tidying up the car. We took it, you know, just for a wash because it's been on jack stands for the last 3 months, and like getting the car officially put back together. So I think Dan's excited for tomorrow. I'm excited for tomorrow. It's been a long time since we've been behind the wheel of this thing. So
we're cautiously optimistic. We've done a lot of work on the car in the off season.
Yeah.
We've been driving around my neighborhood, but that's just, you know, not very aggressively. So tomorrow's going to be the real test. But yeah, it's been great. A lot of fun doing this. We bonded over this. I bonded with the car over this. This has been a lot for us, and we're excited to finally be back in season.
yeah.
And we've made a lot of content along the way. So again, if you haven't seen any of that, please go back, watch those videos. They don't take that long to go through. We're a small channel and we're trying to grow, so we need your help.
Of course, a lot of our content moving forward will be race focused. But like Dan said, I've really enjoyed the off season, really getting to focus on the car and building it with him. And I mean, it's been a good time. It's been a hard time, but it's been a good time. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Obviously, if you find the channel, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
That was mostly good.
Yeah.